Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, now we're pumped up. Lisa had the hard job, right? Get everybody going. Now we're good. We're so glad you're here. I'm Barry Sade, Supervisor of Curriculum Instruction in Frelinghuysen Township School District. You don't have to repeat that, all right? That's not call and response, that was Lisa. Let me give, right? Hello. One second. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to show you my whole PowerPoint right now. Because you guys should know what you're getting into, right? This is exactly how I visualized it last night. How's our tech? Good? Okay. All right. While this is loading, I'll just talk to everybody. But that was my indicator that we need the tech person here. Okay. All right. So ESET 2 NJPA, what is it? Right? Who are we? Well, after last year's convening, our nickname was the Alphabet Conference, right? ECET 2 NJPA. What is that? It's a lot of letters, right? It's about elevating and celebrating effective teaching in teachers in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, right? And we hashtagged it. Thank you, Derek. And it really all started from a national model that I went to in Snowbird, Utah about 3 years ago. And when I came back, before I left and I was on the plane, I talked to somebody at the foundation and I said, you know, it'd be great if we could have one of these in New Jersey. And they're like, oh yeah, it really would. And you know how you say things offhand and you don't really mean it like for real, but it's just like a thought, like, hey, that's great. Like I'd like a candy bar right now, but I'm not gonna eat that. Right, well that was one of those. And so I got home and about 3 days later I got a phone call and I was at work and I was during my prep and how does the Gates Foundation know my prep is at that moment, right? And they're like, Barry, we heard you'd be interested in organizing and leading a regional convening in New Jersey. And I was like, look, I gotta teach math at 210, right? And if you've ever tried to teach math for fifth graders at 210, it's not easy. Like, I'd like, you know, like, Joe, stop it, you're messing with me. And it's, no, this is not Joe, this is Nathaniel Brown from the Gates Foundation. I'm like, oh, crap, it is you. So, you know, I've lived a life of why not, right? The whole reason I'm in education was a whole why not. I mean, I did 4 years of high school in 5. I did 4 years of college in 5. I graduated with a job I never used. I quit the job at USA Today before I started so I could work at a summer camp because I really like working with kids. So my parents decided I should pay rent, right? Like, I'm that guy, all right? I'm the kid at the margins, right? That's who Sean Tom's gonna speak about later. I got you, all right? So I said, why not? Because I couldn't think of a reason why not. And so what did I do? The screen behind me that you cannot see has 10 faces of people from Twitter, and they're standing along the back, and they're standing amongst you, and I wish they would just stand, and it's Kate, and it's Scott, and it's Steve, and it's Liz. My friends, you know who you are. Stand up. Yeah. This was the part when I'm saying, like, you guys should stand up without having to say it. Yeah, okay, you guys, that's okay. All right, and so they were like, yeah, let's do it, right? So we wrote a grant, and none of us had ever written a grant before, and we got funded the first year for $25,000, right? And then we had nowhere to put it, because none of us owns a 501c3, so we had this big check, and like, what happens now, right? So we partnered with people who did, and then we went out and we asked for sponsors. And what you would have seen behind me is one of my favorite movies, The Sandlot, where that one phrase, you know it? You know that phrase? You're killing me, Smalls, right? We would call people up and they'd be like, who are you? Right, but we were able to finagle about $7,000 worth of funding and we ran our first event. 150 people came. The one thing we found out we were really, really good at was being social. And we were, oh, I can't, don't even worry about it. I'm just gonna roll. We had over 12,000 Twitter impressions over the course of the weekend. And if you know anything about Twitter, you know it's a big number. We trended #1 on social media for the weekend. And then after that weekend, after we were exhausted, kind of looked at each other and we're like, you know, it'd be kind of good to do one more, right? It's like, do we want that second scoop of ice cream? Maybe, right? So we did. We wrote another grant. This time we got funded for $28,000. And we were able to give it to somebody because we had a place in a 501c3. And then we were able to get $11,000 of sponsors. And then we went from 150 people who had come to 228. And we've had to cap registration after 4 days because we didn't have enough room and the fire code was 200. And we were already over. We had a great weekend. We had 100 people put in for presentations. We only took 50. So I looked at them and I'm like, I think I'm done. And they're like, no, you're not. We came with you when the vision was Disney World, and that's what you sold us. But what you actually gave us was like this little ranch house where half was falling over. So you're in for one more with us because we want to build Disneyland. I said, all right. So we did it again. This is you, year 3. Wrote another grant, $25,000. Secured $22,000 in outside sponsorships. Our social media trended #1 all weekend, from Friday night before the event even happened last year to Monday afternoon. So what did we decide to do? Why do one convening when you can do 2 back-to-back over the same weekend? Because nothing goes better than 2 scoops of ice cream with 3 scoops of ice cream. And what goes better with bacon? More bacon, of course. Of course. So that's what we did. And the school that I'm in now, Frelinghuysen Township School District, these are my people. We made half day, 12:45. We had Lavana, Stephen, and Derek come in a day early. They presented 2 50-minute sessions in a 3-hour block. We trended #1 on social media for 3 hours. We only had 75 people in the room because that's really who we could fit fire code wise. But we had 150 people interacting on Twitter. We had an estimated reach of 385,000. So we're already trending as of 3 p.m. yesterday. We are #2 on Twitter. Unless I'm wrong, this would be the time when Scott, we're #1. Sorry, Scott, we're 1? Okay. So we're 1 because we're social. And that's what we do. Right? The whole thing is about not just the learning that goes on with all the things we have to share, but the connections and the relationships that we form before, during, after the sessions. That's where the real learning takes place. Right? We'll sit through a session, there'll be some great stuff, but we'll leave and we'll talk to somebody else and be like, oh yeah, like that idea. And I like that one. Right? We had a lot of people who could not get here. Right? We have a wait list that's about 60, 70 people. That's why we had the event yesterday, our pre-ESET2 Institute. Share the learning with all the people who don't know about ESET2 yet, who can't spell it out, who don't even know that it's like the Alphabet Conference. Get them in the loop too, because they should have an opportunity to learn from all of us. Right? So where do we go from here? That's on you. Right? We had over 200 proposals put in. We only had 42 accepted. So we had a lot of upset people. That happens, right? Can't win everybody. But know that you're in a room of greatness. People who truly want to share, people who really want to give, people who really want to take. Passionate, purposeful, prideful people. That's who we are. That's what we bring every day to our classrooms, and that's what we're going to bring to each other. We can't wait to share with you this weekend. I'm so glad I got to share my PowerPoint with you. Last night we had like 40 people over for dinner, and at 8:30 I left, locked myself in the guest room to work on it for 3 hours. No one noticed for an hour. Nobody. At 9:30, like I hear someone ask my wife, Jessica, love you, who's like, where's Barry? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, great. You know what I mean? Didn't work. That's okay. Right? It's what good teaching looks like. It's messy before it looks good. And this was a little messy before it got better. All right? We're so happy for you. Now, really happy to bring up our friend, National Association School Principal of the Year, Digital Connected Educator. What? You're giving me, what are you doing? What? I don't know what you're saying. Mr. Glenn Robbins, who will be doing his presentation, the first ever co-keynote with one of his teachers. Right? You don't see that too much. All right, enjoy your weekend, everybody.